All right. Welcome to the Spoiler Kings. My name is Tank Kramer. I'm with Will, Peppa MD.
Yo,
What's
yo.
up, man?
What's up, man?
How did you enjoy the last good weekend in Chicago? The last good weather weekend in Chicago?
Oh, I know. It's finally a time where I can wear sweaters, and I'm now getting that taken away. I know. It's getting cold all of a sudden. We go through 4 seasons in a day. It's nuts.
Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, it's that time of year in November. But yeah, man, it was a pretty good weekend. A really good weekend for movies. So if you're watching live, we got a double feature for you guys. We're gonna do Eternals and The Harder They Fall. So you want to get right into it and get into this extra double dose of movie review?
For shizzle. So first we're talking Eternals, and then after we're done with Eternals, stay tuned, and then we're going to talk about The Harder They Fall. Both movies, we're going to give our rating system towards the end. So again, stay tuned to the end of the video.
Yeah. And if you're watching on replay, it's going to be a separate video. So you go check them out. But first, let's get this the Eternals, the new MCU movie that just came out this weekend. Let's give that a
Alrighty.
go.
As we watch the trailer live here, I'm going to give you a little insight about what the movie's about. So in 5000 BC, a group of 10 individuals descend upon Earth to protect humanity from the Deviants. Deviants are the bad guys. They are the Eternals, who have been sent from their home planet of Olympia on the Domo by the Prime Celestial, Arisham the Judge. Throughout the centuries, the Eternals continue to relocate to the other growing civilizations and defend them from the Deviants. My heroes, huh? Although they are barred by Arisham from interfering with human conflicts to allow them to evolve naturally. And we'll see this a few times, right? So they even touch on Iron Man and the whole Civil War and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They kind of like see that outside looking in. They have that perspective, but they can't do a damn thing. Again, so that evolution happens naturally and there's no one to kind of mess with that equation. Two Eternals, Cersei and Icarus, who this movie really follows, would develop a close relationship. These are two of the Eternals, by the way. They develop a close relationship over the centuries and eventually becoming a married couple. Ooh, I don't know, man, but when you mix pleasure with work and with, family life, whew, it's only going to be problematic. That's all I know. So I think, was that it? Yeah, the Marvel Studios is the one that's behind this. Of course, the Marvel movie. They featured the Eternals, who are pretty much a new superhero team. Even though they are like prior to the superheroes that we know now in Marvel, they kind of set up for what's going to happen next.
Yeah. They kind of go in the past and show what's gonna happen into the future, so they kind of give you everything.
They jump around a little bit for sure.
Yeah, bring this down.
Explosions.
But yeah, one of the big thing was the movie opened up like really big, font, in the beginning. It's like this is like the origin story of Earth, according to the MCU, which is pretty cool. But we're gonna do this Eternals one's a little different than we usually do because we usually do spoilers and everything. So I figure we'll do no spoilers, and then we'll start getting into our spoilers, and then we'll do our reviews. Just because I know a lot of people might want to watch it, and I don't want to ruin that much of it. So we'll try to keep it general. Won't give too many details away right now. But yeah, real quick, for me, it follows the comic book pretty good. So if you ever read the newer revamped version of the Eternals, pretty close to the comic book, so not too bad. I was actually pretty surprised that they kept it that close.
Now, when you say that, you're talking storyline as well as the way they look too, the way they were captured visually. Is that what you mean?
Visually, it's not too bad. They like Icarus. He has those the big three circles kind of thing. that's kind of how the comic book is too. The comic book is a little crazy, but it's not too bad. I mean, it visually it's a little bit more different, but storyline wise, plot wise, they kept it pretty close to the new revamped origin story, which either good or bad. I don't know. You can make up your mind with that one, but we're just going to be talking about just the movie and not really go back to the comic books, because I don't think you ever read the comic book version of it.
Not for Eternals, not this one.
Yeah,
nope.
Yeah. But what are some of the good things that you liked about this one?
So, real quick, number one for anything was, for this being a superhero movie, right, or a superhero kind of story. I love the fact that the Eternals cast is so diversified, one, yes. And two, representation was so key in bringing these characters to life, because, again, I'm not gonna spoil too much here, but we have like some female leads for actresses, and then we have some people of color, taking the spotlight. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So that's one thing that I really was happy to see. Seeing Salma Hayek so high on the chain of hierarchy in this film was dope.
Yeah.
Like she's getting a little bit older. She still looks fine, right? She's still doing her thing. And so I'm just happy that, we have Latinas and people of Hispanic origins, making it big. That's important to me. But that's some of the cool things. The powers were also pretty cool.
Well, real quick, CGI. Before you move on from that,
go ahead.
One thing my girlfriend showed me about it was Salma Hayek was in an interview right here, and she was asked like about her character and stuff like that. And she wound up kind of breaking down. So if you see this, like she, this is kind of whatever. But then she started to kind of like really choke up. The interviewer started like even like crying a little bit, and you see her there. And that was the thing where she goes, she said that this moment was so important because she goes, I've been at Marvel for 16 years trying. I was told her for the first time I met her that she had no idea how long I waited for this moment. And I think that was like them talking, but yeah, she was just like looking in the mirror, something along those lines. She like looked in the mirror and saw a Latina like in a superhero suit in Marvel. It's like,
wow.
She thought about her kids, what it meant for her kids, what it meant for other like little girls. Also like any kind of Hispanic culture. It's just like. I mean, she's done a lot for the Latino culture movie wise, it's like, so and this was no exception, what here, but yeah, she got choked up in this interview, which says how much this really meant for her,
Yeah.
So yeah, and shout out to my girlfriend who showed me this because I didn't know, but obviously it's all in Spanish. It's with whatever channel that is
Wake Up America, but in Spanish.
Yeah.
Good Morning America, pretty much.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so that's pretty cool, man. She was when you're able to connect with the character that you're playing on screen, I think you have a lot more feel, and that was definitely one thing that came across in this was she was really good in this role. The quote unquote leader.
Yeah, right.
So, that was dope. But yeah, man. Sorry, man. I just wanted to kind of hit on that a little bit more. What are some of the other things?
No, I'm glad you touched on that. Some of the other things, I like some of their powers. I liked how they just, Marvel never ceases to amaze me when it comes to their creativity and their stories that relate to, you as the viewer or as the reader. So, that relatability, something that was real cool. And the story, the plot was really, really, really fun to watch. And even though this movie was like 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 18 minutes long,
like 2.5 hours.
Yeah. I wasn't mad at it. I wasn't mad at it being that long. I really liked that it was just so much content, and I want to say they could have even gone longer, but Um, yeah, that's what I liked. What about you? What was really big that stuck out to you that tickled your feathers?
I mean, I enjoyed the whole story as a whole.
Mm.
I mean, without getting into the like the ratings and stuff like that, there were like a lot of people didn't like this because it didn't feel like a Marvel movie. And for me, that's part of the reason why I liked it. It was just like it was very different. At one point, I forgot I was watching a Marvel film, because it wasn't a normal cut and paste. It was like, oh, here's the good guy. Here is a dark version of the good guy, and they fight. And it was like, okay, we've seen that for like since Iron Man 1. This was
Yeah.
very different. This one was very had kind of like moral, like morality, ethical questions. Like, what do you do with something like that? So it was a lot of that stuff. Like a lot of somebody said this is like a love story. I'm like, I didn't consider it a love story. I considered more of like a family problem story, because they are, granted, they're all different, like skin colors and stuff like that. They are a family. They even say it a bunch of times in the movie is like, oh, family reunion and this and that and family. And that's what I thought it more was a family kind of problem, It was like, so I mean, granted, there was a love story in it. A few like little like he loves her, he loves him, and blah blah blah. But I think the overall story for me was like, hey, everyone's family's a little messed up. It's just their families are a little bit more powerful than everyone else's. So for me, that's what I like a lot. But I get why a lot of people didn't like this film, because it was very, very, very different. For me personally, that's one of the reasons why I did enjoy it, was it just wasn't a normal cut and paste Marvel movie. It made you like sit and think a lot more. Like, like, oh, is that right to do? Should they do that? Would I do that? Is that a good thing? Kind of, so there's that whole part of it too. So I enjoyed that. And then the action, when the action was going on, it was going on. And then when they went into the important parts of the lore and the film, they crammed that stuff in there, man. Like, all right, here's 10 minutes of very, very important stuff that's gonna change the fabric of the MCU kind of stuff, and then it's everything else. But like that stuff, like I always find entertaining, where like this movie definitely setting up a bigger picture in the MCU. So I can't wait for something like that to really, really start to develop. I mean, we're starting to get multiverses, so you're starting to get a bunch of different universes, and then this one is like, hey, we're not done with this universe. This one is still getting bigger. So, it's kind of like double kind of thing. It's like this is getting bigger, and there's an infinite amount of them. So I thought that was pretty cool. That is just expanding the whole universe. It lore wise and like physical wise, like it's getting outside of Earth. Like Earth isn't just the only problem planet. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
We're now seeming even smaller than what we thought we were. We're not alone. Definitely not alone. We're like ants compared to what's out there. That's bottom line.
Yeah. And that was like one thing. The visual effects I thought was amazing. So, what was his name? I can't. You said his name. I heard it a million times. They say his name a bunch of times.
You talking about
the big red dude that's behind me?
Oh, snap!
The Celestial with A. I'm so bad with his name.
It's a really crazy name. I can't say it.
Yeah. But he's the Celestial dude, which they showed in the trailer. They showed in the trailer we just watched. So no big surprise. But there's a real cool scene. It's not a spoiler, where Ajax goes and like kind of talks to him, and she is literally a dot to him. Like they show her, and then it's just like a red wall, and then they zoom out, and it's just like she's like a little teeny dot, and this guy's is huge. It's just massive, bigger than planets, and it was just super, super cool. Like getting like, because now you're starting to get like size wise, because like nowhere, in Guardians, the floating head, that was the
Yeah.
head of a celestial, you know, that they
Oh.
mine out of. So it's like, oh, his head is as big as a planet that people live in and farm from and mine,
Wow.
you know. So it's like that's just his head, you know. So yeah, so just getting that ratio was like, oh, here's Selma Hayek, here's this giant red, you know, being. So that was super cool.
Arisham. I think
Arisham.
I was saying it earlier, and like I've been having issues saying it with the synopsis. I think I said it okay. Arisham. I keep looking for like pronunciations. Arisham, the judge.
The judge. Yeah. But yeah. So but what about some bad things, man?
Okay.
So still no spoilers yet.
Okay. No spoilers. I don't think it's a spoiler. This is not something that ruins the progression of the story. One thing that just like rubbed me the wrong way, right? So I know we're talking about a Marvel movie. It was okay if I talk about the DC thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So there's it's not a spoiler. So I just wasn't sure. One thing that kind of just rubbed me the wrong way, and it just like I don't know if it was necessary for the movie.
Hey,
I just thought it was. Hey, what's up, Omar? One thing that kind of that irked me, and you could take it out and you still have the same movie. So I don't know why they threw it in. Maybe they're trying to, I don't know, spark some kind of drama or something. But they name dropped some DC characters and the DC universe almost. But like, I don't know if they were like making them seem like, oh, we're only referencing them as a comic, or if they were like, oh, we're referencing them as another universe that is happening at the same time as us, which is Marvel, for this movie. And so that was like, what? Like they mentioned the character. They mentioned the character. What is his name?
Icarus.
Was it Icarus? Yeah, Icarus. Icarus. Some of his powers, right? Kind of a spoiler, but some of his power. Oh no, you see it in the damn.
It's in the trailer.
In the trailer, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Oli.
Is he can fly, right? Shoots lasers out of his eyes, and hovers. Got super strength. And who does that sound like to you? Huh? Who does that sound like to you? Look at all these powers that were created by like a 5-year-old. Superman. Yeah. So they name drop Superman. They're like, "Oh, you look like Superman." He's like, "I don't have the cape."
Yeah, which was funny.
It was a funny line. Yeah, like true. And then I think you're the one that reminded me that they name dropped Alfred and Batman, right?
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you're like Alfred and Batman." Thank you.
Those are really big. Thank you, Omar. Those are really big name drops for a movie like that's a Marvel movie, bruh. Like you could have taken it out and you would have had the same movie. So that's what kind of bothers me. What about you?
Yeah. They definitely did that on purpose, and and I think that's why she did it, because I didn't notice it until my girlfriend told me. She goes, "Did they just mention Batman and Alfred like in a Marvel film?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And then obviously in the trailer, in the trailer, the little boy tells Icarus like, "Oh, you're like Superman," like what you said. So I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's twice." They bring up like those are two legendary. Those are like the two biggest superheroes you can think of in any comic book kind of thing is Batman and Superman, And I was like, that's really interesting. And they asked Chloe Zhao, which is the director, like, why did she do that? And she was like, she wanted to have this universe be. I'm trying to look for like the exact quote, but it was basically like she wanted the reference to play in like the the gags as well, but also it's like heroes were part of like just that world. You know what I mean? Like, the comics and heroes and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, it just like, that's why I didn't even notice it, because I'm a comic book fan and you say Batman and I get the reference, but now you throw it in a Marvel film and you're like, hold on, and I'm like, that's definitely crossing, the streams. So, but I thought that was really cool from her, where she was just like, yeah, it's like the normal, like we want to be in the normal world, but we're in that Marvel normal world. So why wouldn't there be comic books? You know what I mean? So it really makes sense,
Yeah.
because they're so easily like you can reference Batman and you can reference Superman, and people would understand what you're referencing. You know what I mean?
So with that being said, let me just ask you real quick: does that imply that the Eternals storyline and universe part of the comics over or like Umbrella's even DC too? Are they trying to be King comic book? That's what that makes
I
me
don't know.
think.
Yeah.
If they're so nonchalant saying like, yeah, we got the Marvel, Iron Man and Captain America, and then we're just gonna name drop Batman because it's in our movie. Like they're almost, to me, it seems like they're taking ownership, which obviously I know they're not. And this is maybe to try to poke at DC. Maybe DC is gonna throw, a name drop in their next movie, and they're gonna have like start doing diss tracks, and they're gonna have like Chief Keef thrown in the mix. Who knows? But I don't know if they throw Eminem in this universe, bro. It's over with.
Right. I mean, it might be. You never know when they go to Detroit.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, from what she said like she just went with it because it was just a reference that people can easily make. Because you're like, oh, that person's like Superman, and boom, you get it. Laser flies, Mr. Perfect, all American kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was really, really cool. Real reference. I enjoyed that part of it. Okay. I don't think they're trying to like take over, like move out, we're taking your shit too. I just think it was just like, yeah, why not? It makes sense. It just completely makes sense, But yeah. Because he is a freaking ripoff of Superman, like just flat out. Like, I mean, yeah, but Marvel does that stuff all the time. Like DC makes a cool character, and Marvel's like, we're gonna make it cooler,
Yeah.
So. It's like, yeah. I mean, Deadpool is a complete ripoff of Deathstroke.
Yes.
Yes. Like, complete ripoff, but done way cooler. Like, oh, he's a brooding, one-eyed asshole. All right, we're going to have a loudmouth, can't shut up, funny asshole, the same exact freaking design. Like,
yeah.
But that's what Marvel does, man. They're like, we're going to take your idea and do our own with it. But I thought that was pretty funny. Any other weird thing that threw you off or you didn't like?
No. If we're not talking spoilers, then nothing else. The movie was pretty. It's pretty straightforward, pretty black and white.
Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing, without getting into spoilers, that I didn't like was, I know you said like you would have liked even more of it. They probably, for me, they could have cut it. They could have cut 30 minutes out.
Yeah.
This is definitely not a spoiler. There's the first Marvel sex scene is in this film. I don't know if you can say that. To me, that's not a spoiler. But if you're like, oh damn, I wanted to see that, I was like, okay, it's not really a spoiler. But there's anything. I don't know why they did it. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do that. I just think it was like they're getting married, which we already said in the synopsis.
Yeah.
We know what comes after that, and we know all that stuff. It was very weird, to watch, Yeah. Not that the sex scenes are weird. It was just like, I was like, it felt like it didn't belong in there, and then all the parts where they're just staring off into like the sky, whether they're in the desert or here or there. I was like, they could have honestly probably chopped 30 minutes off and made this a 2-hour film, like easily made it a 2-hour film. But that's how the director is, man. I usually don't like her movies. The big one, she won the Academy Award for the big one, Nomadland. She was the director for Nomadland, which I thought was a garbage movie. Me and Alfredo did our Oscar movies. And we both were like, this sucks. It sucks. and they won like every freaking award in the Oscar season, which is insane.
That's funny.
But that's what she's known for. She's known for like very cinema, like, oh, look at this great scenery. We're just gonna stand and look at it for a minute. I was like, cool. If the movie is an hour and a half, when it's 2.5 hours, you need to cut that. You need to cut that. Like, show how pretty everything is. In backgrounds when people are talking or something. So, but that was like one of the bigger things. But any other non-spoilery things before we get into some spoilers?
Nah. Well, let me take a look at the cast real quick. Let me see if I can muster up something. Hold on.
Good cast.
Sometimes I'll see
Really
I'll look at
cast.
their faces and then I'll see. Where's the cast? I have them right here.
Yeah.
Nope.
Really good cast.
Okay.
They brought back the Game of Thrones brothers, the two Starks, Kit Harington and Richard Madden. They played. They were in it, and on top of that, of all things, I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones or not. One of the evil women in it, one of the like main big bad guys in the show, her name was Cersei.
Oh, no kidding. That's funny. Okay.
Which is funny. So you have two Game of Thrones guys and then a character named Cersei. So that was kind of like a little meta, but yeah, that was kind of funny. But
wow.
But yeah, man. Angelina Jolie, Kit Harington, Richard Madden, Gemma Chan, which I believe Gemma Chan was already in a Marvel movie. I believe she was in Captain Marvel. She played the green or purple chick in Captain Marvel.
Okay.
I believe something like that. She was in Captain Marvel. Or she played a doctor. I don't remember. But she was already in a Marvel movie, which is kind of funny. And obviously a bigger role in this one. But Salma Hayek, Don Lee, Kumail Nanjiani was in it. Lauren Ridolph, Brian T. Henry. So
I was happy that they did. It's not a really big spoiler. That they had a little stop in Chicago, just to show off Chicago. I've always liked every time we get mentioned in movies, but that was pretty cool.
It was definitely a burb though. If you're from Chicago, you're like, oh, there's no way. You saw that? That was a suburb. That was a little white picket fence. That was not the city. That was a suburb.
That was Evanston.
Yeah. So you're like, exactly. Like, this is not Chicago. But yeah, I mean, it was close enough. Chicago adjacent. But yeah, it was really good casting. Bill Skarsgard, or was it Bill Skarsgard? Is that what his name is? Yeah. So
yeah.
He was the voice of the main deviant kind of guy. So
that man scares me.
He does when he does his weird little, like, with his lips and does his thing.
Yeah. It's a big note.
But yeah. You want to get into some spoilers then?
Let's do it. Spoiling time.
Boom. All right. So if you haven't watched the movie and you want to watch it, come back later, for our reviews and stuff like that, because we are getting into all the spoilers and there is a butt ton of spoilers. We probably won't have time to get into everything, but what were some of the big points that you were like, either good or bad, that were like, holy crap, that sucked, or holy crap, that was awesome?
We lost some characters that I liked. I was so pissed.
Shit did we do? Yeah.
We lost. You want to go first? Yeah, you tell me when people that we lost. That we were upset about. You start first.
Well, I mean, the biggest one, which I was really pissed off about, and I think a lot of people were pissed off about, Salma Hayek, Ajax. Seriously, yeah, she freaking died, and then the how she died. You thought it was a deviant that killed her, and then you find out it was one of the one of the family members that killed her. So which is like, it is like, yeah. So it's like, oh my god, and then they show it. Then they freaking show it. Yeah. They show how she dies, and I'm like, fuck off, Marvel. Like, that one cut. That one hurt, because I was like, I liked her. She was the leader, but she was like a mother also, and cared for everybody. Yeah. Even when Druig, who can like control minds, he kind of like went off the reservation a little bit, kind of like got a little crazy with everything, and was like, it's like, oh, we should interfere, and she's like, no, and he went off. She's like, let him go. It's like she cared for everybody.
She
So-
really carried that like royalty kind of vibe to her, where I was like, ooh, you respect what Mama Salma Hayek says. Like you don't want to offend her.
yeah, that's seriously. But she was very like forgiving, very loving, very powerful. Very a good leader. And then of all people, which is also why I like they use Superman as a reference to Icarus, because Superman is like goody country boy, won't kill people, won't do stuff. Icarus was like, nah, like my job comes first.
Yeah.
It was very disappointing because I was like, really? Like, but then like it you kind of get it, because that comes in the dilemma of it all. It was like, I think he was doing it because it was his job, but then you find out well, I don't know if you want, should we just spoil it? Like why the Eternals are actually there. So there's a big old scene. There's a big old scene that Cersei becomes the new leader. The little golden ball thing that Ajax had goes into Cersei, and she can talk to the Eternal. And the Celestial. Was it Ashamal? What was his name?
I kept saying his name.
Keep it up. She goes and talks to Arishima. She goes and talks to him, and he just gives her the fucking like. He goes, "Here's why you're here. You're here because I messed up in the past and I made deviants. You're gonna go kill them. Kill my first creation, and I created you. You didn't come from Olympia. That was just something I made up so you can feel special." So it's like, and then he shows her like where they get mass produced and shit, which I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just like, oh man. I mean, there's the whole Angelina like is dementia, but you find out like she wasn't erased properly, so she has all these weird visions of prior lives that weren't erased. But yeah, so she gets the whole thing, and you find out that the Eternals were sent there to protect humans because humans were the food that the Celestial in the planet were. So there's a Celestial in the middle of the planet. The Earth is an egg, basically, to a Celestial, and the humans were the energy that would provide. So, yeah,
these little battery packs. You know what that kind of reminds me of? The Matrix.
Kind of. There you go.
A little bit. In the sense that with the Matrix, right? Robots taking over Earth, or taking over the universe, if you will, and we're getting like smarter and smarter because of their AI. And so they found out that they don't need the sun exactly for energy to keep on going on, or keep on working. They found out that if you were to mass produce humans, and not in the traditional way, with intercourse and all that. No, you just mass produce them factory style, which is, I guess there's a way to do that. And that's how, humans were getting birthed and into this like crazy world. And so this movie kind of touched on that idea a little bit, but in their own special way. There was no, copping off, the Matrix's story, none of that. But it's just, they gave me those vibes. I'm like, damn, why are humans always the freaking, the energy source for other beings? Like, where are we the stepping stone?
Yeah, the food. But one thing that they did bring up was the snap. When Ajax was telling Icarus about what was going on, that the emergence was happening, and the emergence was the Celestial emerging from Earth, from the middle of the Earth. So the planet would just basically explode, And but he told him it's a constant thing. He's like, this planet has to die so there could be a new Celestial born, because I guess Celestials die, and it's like every billion years or something like that. And the Celestials use energy to keep the energy moving. So the same thing is like, you can't create or kill energy, you just kind of
distribute it.
Well, yeah, you just like move it into something else, So I was like, oh, okay. But then it's like, yeah, but you're killing a whole planet, so you're killing like, like a billion people or whatever, something crazy. And then so and so that was kind of like crazy for me where I saw that. I was like, oh, that's really interesting where they were able to do that. Like because it is like sacrifice one planet so hundreds of planets can be created. So that's where the dilemma is. Sacrifice for the greater good, or every life is precious. We saw what happened with Captain America when he didn't want to sacrifice Vision. Like we could have sacrificed Vision and killed Vision, killed one person he was willing to die, kill him so that half of the universe wouldn't have to be snapped. But Captain America believes the opposite of what Icarus believes, where every life is precious, and Icarus is like, no, life keeps going and we have to make sure it keeps going. So it was a very interesting dilemma that they had, and then they were split, which got me, Kumail Nanjiani's character Kingo was like, I agree, Earth should die so many, many more planets can live, but I'm not going to kill you like he's going to kill you. So, which kind of pissed me off because then he sat out for the rest of the movie after he's like, peace, I'm out. I don't believe in this fight. So, and then he was just gone. I was like, oh, what? Like, what? I was really pissed. I was like, he's just not there. And I was waiting for him to like show up and save the day, or he's just, that was it. The whole big fight at the end, he wasn't even part of.
Oh.
So that was really disappointing.
He didn't die, did he? Did he die?
No.
I thought I saw his body dead.
No, because at the end he helps Sprite because he's a big Bollywood star, so he has a lot of money.
Wait, you talking about
he has
Kingo?
like a private jet. Kingo, which is Kumail Nanjiani.
Never mind. I was talking about somebody else. Never mind. Disregard. Yeah, Kingo. Bollywood star. That's right. Yeah. Super swole, by the way.
Oh yeah, he got so jacked. Which they make fun of that in Big Mouth season 5. I don't know if you watched that one yet. They made fun of jacked Kumail and it was his voice, so like he was in on the joke, but it was really funny.
That's funny.
But yeah, little shout out to that show. But yeah, man. I don't know. That was like way off topic because. But yeah, Ajax winds up dying and Icarus winds up killing her because he's an asshole. And once they complete his job, there's another death in this one.
Yeah. Who was that?
So,
was it Sprite? No. Wasn't Sprite, right?
It was Gilgamesh.
Oh yeah, Gilgamesh. Yeah, he died. That's what I thought you were talking about earlier. But yeah, that was so sad. I saw his body all like green or like bluish.
Yeah.
Damn. Swole as hell, man.
Yeah, he was jacked. I liked his power. He had like little punching gloves he would make and shit.
Yeah, right. I almost thought that they were like like the Hulk gloves from like when you were a kid. It's the whole. I kept getting that image in my head. I was like, he's using Hulk hands.
yeah. Which it was kind of cool. There were some other criticisms I saw from other people after I watched this. I watched other reviewers and talk about it, and a lot of them had an issue with. So there's a part in the end where Sprite kind of teams with Icarus. So she kind of helps, which I'm like, but she also loved Icarus. So she would have followed him no matter what he did. You know what I mean? She didn't do it because she thought it was right. She did it because he's like, oh, I want you to like me, so I'll do whatever you want, which is kind of messed up. But there's
also
a part where
real quick, also too, the way she was looking at him, right? When she followed him to carry on his mission. She kept watching him like as if I know that she liked him, but as if always she was like almost like she was protecting him. She had this look of like concern, like, man, I know you're on this road to do this, but I don't quite agree with it. I felt like she was there for not only to have his back, but as companionship, so that he don't do nothing too crazy. Even though she kind of goes along with what he wanted to do, but the look she gave him
really crazy.
She does.
That's what I thought too, man. That's what I thought too, and I really hope she was going to be like the voice of reason.
I thought she
You know what I mean?
was. Yeah.
I thought she was gonna like convince him, like, you really don't want to do this. She did not. She's like, you want me to stab? Bang, 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 bang. I'll stab this bitch. I'll stab that bitch. You know, I was like,
She really did. I swear
fuck?
she did.
Yeah.
She went in.
So, and I guess that's what a lot of people are complaining about is like the eternal, like Cersei got stabbed by Sprite, which is super messed up from in the back of all things, in the back, and she turned the dagger knife thing into water, and then she just kept going. You know, so people were like, wait, but I'm like, they're eternal. It's literally kind of in their name. It's like, granted, they like Ajax's power was to heal, so I'm sure they can heal quick. But also, like, their thing is like they're immortal. You know, that they're made not to age or not to die. So if they get wounded, they could basically heal themselves. You know, maybe at a slower rate than what Ajax would do. That's what I assumed. So I really didn't mind that, like, the water went away and she was kind of like fine shortly after.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, so we're upset about that, but we're not upset that they're like 7,000 years old. You know, so I was like, what?
But I almost kind of thought that scene was, I know I'm trying to hurry up here. The scene was a little pointless too when she did stab her. I'm like, they're immortal. You didn't stab her with anything extra. It was just a regular ass knife.
Yeah. You didn't go for like a chop off the head thing. You just like in the gut.
Right? So, yeah. Like I think they mentioned earlier about how to kill immortals or something. Like it has to do with like a celestial, you know, doing the killing. She ain't no celestial. What the fuck she thought? But yeah, I don't know. That was a funny scene when she did that.
Yeah. And there was a whole nother, like the ending on Cersei kind of, so the which is, that was one of the coolest things is the celestial from Earth is actually coming out. His head's coming out, his hand, like you see his fingers coming out, and you see part of his head coming out from like this ocean, you know, they're like in an island in the middle of nowhere, and it's a volcano and shit. But she kind of turns the celestial into marble, and a lot of people were like, oh, so she killed the celestial, blah blah blah. But I'm like, in the movie, she says it, you know, that she wind up getting some of his power because of the emergence, because he's coming out. They all were linked together, you know, so they didn't need the stupid bracelet at the end, you know, like the celestial did it. And I went up watching one person, he's like, they were saying like, maybe the celestial wasn't cool with killing everyone on Earth, you know, because can you imagine? It's like, you know, you were along the ride for the entire time, and now you're the reason why you killed everybody. You know, I mean, it's like, how much did the celestial know about humans? You know, maybe he was like, you know, he didn't want to, but he was being forced to be born. You know, so it's like, did the celestial give her a little bit more power? He's like, you need to stop me before this happens. And that's a really good like thing. Is that what happened? I don't know. I mean, hopefully they get a little bit more into it. It's like every celestial is different. Maybe they're not all like kill, blow up planets. Some of them want to protect people. So
interesting. Do celestials have feelings? Those are the real questions. Yeah, I don't know. No idea. It could be. Could be one that's like a nice one. Nice celestial.
Yeah. But yeah, man, there's so many spoilers. There's so much I want to talk about this. I'm sure Thursday, if there's a Thursday show, did we just become best friends on the Nerd Huddle? Me and Brian are probably gonna talk a lot more about this with like all the like implications of everything. And
the ending
of everything.
And the post credits.
Yeah, we'll probably talk post credits there, for sure. Yeah. Stuff like that. But you want to get into some of the Eternals ratings?
Yeah, let's do it. So here at the Nerd Huddle, us two Vikings over here, we are the Spoiler Kings. So we actually like to rate movies a little bit different. We're a little bit different, you know? And so the way we watch movies and the way we rate them are, here's how we do it. So we either rate a movie that we watch or watch now, or watch later, or watch never. So a watch now means that the movie is so good that you got to drop everything and get your booty to the theater or to the stream, whatever it is, because it's that good. Watch later means that you can put it on the back burner. It's not really priority, but it is an okay movie to watch. And a watch never means you don't give this movie any time of day, no money. It's not worth it. Don't watch it. So, what you think about the movie? How do you rate it?
Man, I'm super torn between now or later.
Ooh,
Oh man, I think overall, I would probably give it a later.
wow.
I really did like this movie. It had its flaws, it had its problems. But I think a lot of people that were gonna go to see this were expecting a Marvel movie, and this wasn't a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
This was very different, and that's what I tell everybody who's going to see it. I'm like, don't go in expecting an Iron Man or Thor Ragnarok, which I think a lot of people want. I'm like, this is a very different Marvel movie. It's got its little jokes and stuff, but it's more of a very serious movie that looks pretty and tackles kind of a serious question when it comes to like powerful beings. Like who's
Yeah.
worthy, who's not worthy, who's worth protecting, who's worth sacrificing. Stuff like that. So I enjoyed that. That's why I'm like really close to a now. I would only go now because the post-credit scenes were amazing. The ending of this film is setting up so much more for the MCU. But I think if you're really a hardcore MCU fan, you might be a little unsatisfied with overall how the movie is. I would probably give it a later. But for me, it's like right there in the now later area. I really don't know which one exact to give it, but yeah, I don't know. What about you, man?
I'm pretty torn as well. So I'm a Marvel movie fan, and I'm also just a regular movie fan, just for the storyline purposes. I like stories that kind of set up bigger things. So when it comes to Marvel's Eternals, it really does sound like a setup movie. So sometimes in these setup movies, they don't really, put all their marbles out in the, in the first play. They kind of just they save some of that goody stuff for the next movie, for like a sequel. And I see that coming from this movie. And so with that being said, I do rate this movie a watch later, just because it was a different movie. Like how you said, Tank. It was just a movie that was meant to tell a bigger story for later on. And I think Eternals 2, if and when that happens, will be way better than this one. I think they're setting that one up to be like a grand slam type movie, and then it'll make this one look bad for some reason. But then I think what I think they're gonna do is they're gonna make this one look not as good and make the next one look so good, then you're gonna have to look back on this one anyways just to get some more clarity on what's to come next. Yeah. So it did a good job, but I think it is a later. Would you watch it again?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I really want to watch it again just to kind of get a lot of the stuff that I maybe missed, but yeah, I would watch it again for sure. What about you? Watch it again?
I'd watch it again. Yeah. How soon would I watch it? Not so soon. Like, again, this movie, I was expecting so much. I was expecting a lot of just like crazy off the wall scenes, and I didn't get what I expected. But just as a movie fan, it did amazing. Like some of the visuals and the character, storylines that they were trying to talk about were pretty damn dope. And I would almost want to give it a now, but just because of the disappointment that I had, at the end of this movie, is what gives me a later for this.
Yeah. Like the end of the movie, I liked a lot. There's a lot of the middle stuff that was kind of a lot of people I think are upset by there's a lot of characters in this movie, and you don't get a lot of backstory for each, but I think you get enough, and I think that's what people need to realize too. Like it's a group movie. It's not called The Eternal, it's called Eternals. So it's a group of them, and it's going to focus a little bit on each. A lot of people I've watched don't like that. They want like one character to focus on. For me personally, I like that it was a group, and everyone got their little bit of, backstory, or issue and stuff like that. But there are a lot of irrelevant characters too, like the Deviants meant nothing Like the main deviant bad guy just gets like sliced at the end by Athena, and I was just super disappointed. So it was like I thought they were gonna do something bigger with the deviants, and it was just like, oh no, gotcha. You thought they were the bad guys, but they're really not. So I was like, So that's stuff like that is kind of like what pushes me a little bit more to the later.
Okay.
But it's still, I love the movie. I thought it was really, really well done. But very different, very different. So real quick, going to some of the money wise, the box office. This film earned $161.7 million globally and $71 million domestic. So that is pretty good numbers when it comes to I think it's like the third or fourth biggest film of the year. I mean, I don't know what's worse. I mean, those kind of like stats during like COVID are kind of like, of course, there's not that many good movies out, but it is what it is. But let's get into Rotten Tomatoes, because oh boy, are there a big difference. So Rotten Tomatoes it's got as of recording this video right now, it's got a 48% tomato meter, which is holy crap.
Bad.
I did not expect that. But It's got an 80% audience. So obviously
it's the hardcore fans.
Sorry, my cat's being a little butthole.
It's okay.
I had to kick him out. Get out of here. But the fans like it. 80%. The critics do not like it. So some of the critics, so we got Forbes. Forbes, he said he enjoyed it despite being too long, and one of the reasons was the humor, which it did have good humor. I enjoyed that. Another was that it just felt kind of quirky and different from most Marvel movies these days, which is what I liked. I was like, I don't want to see, here's Black Panther in gold, and they fight. It's like I want something with actual like substance, and I felt like this, with all the family issues they are having, definitely did. So here's another one from the Denver Post. He said, gorgeous and vacant. The Eternals is the most numbing entry in Marvel's 13-year-old MCU franchise. It even as it struggles to be the weirdest and most philosophical. I would say it's weird. Yeah, I guess a little weird. But I don't know, the most numbing? I don't know. It didn't have the crazy action. It had good action. It didn't have like Thor, bashing a rock into pieces and shit, So I mean, it was very different, very different. I don't know. But yeah, those are, I think that's gotta be one. It's the lowest rated, or one of the lowest rated MCU movies on Rotten Tomatoes. So, yeah.
Crazy upset.
Yeah, I think Dean Richards here in Chicago. I love Dean Richards. He's our movie critic, local movie critic in Chicago. A big shot in like Hollywood movie critics. He gave it a B+. And I tend to agree with a lot of what Dean Richards enjoys, just because I think he gets it. And I'm right there with him. I'm like, yeah, that's where I'm at. So, but yeah. If you want to talk more Eternals with us, we're gonna be on Thursday. Did we just become best friends over on the Nerd Huddle? So go check out that in the description, and it's gonna be I don't know if Will show up. He's always welcome.
I'll try my best. I'll try my best.
But if not, me and Brian is another huge nerd. So we're gonna definitely nerd out about this and all the potential happenings of this film. So definitely check us out on Thursday. We're gonna have some fun with it, hopefully. I know Brian's like super busy right now, but yeah, man. Cool. Anything else before we move on?
Nah. Say stick around for our double header. We're moving on to movie number 2, which we'll talk about in just a hot second.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, no, I think that's it. So if you're watching live, stick around. If you're watching on replay, this video is going to end here. If you want to watch our review of The Harder They Fall, go check out our video. I'm going to put it in the description somewhere up here, so click on that and you can check us out over there and let us know what you thought about that movie as well.